Welcome to Computer Basics Part 1, presented by the GIG, the Geneva Information Gateway, sponsored by the New York State BTAP grant. Today we're going to learn a couple basics of computers, what they contain, exactly how to use a couple different features. Let's get started. When looking at any computer, there are a few basic components that you're going to see that are essential for a computer operation. The first is a monitor or screen. This is what you look at when you're inputting the information. On a desktop, the screen is separate. On a laptop, the screen is attached. The second thing you will always need as a basic component for a computer is a hard drive or console. On a desktop, the console will be in a separate tower. On a laptop, it's actually right underneath your keyboard. The third thing you need for basic operation of a computer is a keyboard. There are on-screen keyboards, but most computers don't contain those quite yet. The separate keyboard imports letters and numbers for you. And the last component of a computer that we would use is a mouse. And in order to input information with a mouse, you either left or right click, or you can double left click. How to turn your computer on and off. We're going to start with how to turn your computer on today. The button you see in front of you, the little circle with the line through it, is the most common power sign these days. Whenever you press this button, a light that corresponds with it usually will turn on unless it is an older model of computer. It may take several minutes for your computer to turn on and start up. Once you get your computer on, there are many ways to turn it off. The first way is not suggested, but you can hold down the power button until the computer shuts off. This way will probably lose most of the information you are working on, so please do not use this method unless it is an absolute emergency. The second method is to go to your Start button in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen and click on Turn Off Your Computer. This screen will appear and you will click the center button that says Turn Off. If you want to just let your computer stand by for a little while, you can simply click the Standby button. Or if you want to restart your computer quickly, click the Restart button. If you've changed your mind and you'd like to continue computer use, click Cancel. Once you boot up your computer, there are many different parts of what we call a desktop. The desktop is the picture or background that first loads when you first open up your computer. Within the desktop, you will have icons right on the screen. You will also have a recycle bin, which you can think of as your trash can for anything you no longer need or want on your computer. You have a Start button, which contains all of your programs. Your open programs will be running down at the bottom. And you also have quick launch icons on the right hand side at the bottom, as well as your date and time. To open a program, there are a couple of different ways that you can accomplish this. The first is to find the icon on your desktop and right click and go ahead and left click the Open button. The second way is to double click one of these icons. A third way is to find the quick launch icons on the right hand bottom corner and left click once. The fourth way to open a program is to go to your Start button, then go to All Programs, select the program you'd like to open, and left click once. To close the programs, there are a couple of different ways you can do this. First, you can always use the X in the top right hand corner of the screen. Sometimes it will be a red X, sometimes it will be gray, depending on your operating system. You can also go to the File or the Windows button within the program and left click once and bring your mouse down to the Close button at the very bottom of that menu and click once. There are a couple different buttons you might want to know about whenever you're looking at your keyboard. The first is Backspace. The Backspace button deletes everything to the left of the line, and your Delete button, which is right next to it, deletes everything to the right. Your Enter button you can think of as Return on the typewriter. It will bring you down to your very next line. You also have Windows buttons at the bottom of your keyboard. These will bring up your Start menu and all of your programs. You have the Caps Lock on the left-hand side of the keyboard. This will bring all of your letters into uppercase, and if you click it one more time, they will go back to their lowercase locations. Some keyboards are full keyboards, like the ones pictured here. Others have just the letters and numbers part, as well as the F keys. There are a great many keyboard shortcuts you can use to help you out whilst you're learning computers. The first one I would suggest is Control-Alt-Delete. This starts your task manager and will also get you to a menu so that you can shut down your computer if you are having trouble with open programs. If you are within the text document, you can hold down Control and press A to highlight all of the document. You can hold down Control and press C to copy all of the document. Hold down Control and press V to paste it, and hold down Control and press Z to undo any mistakes you've made. When creating a Word document, you'll simply go to the icon you see with the big blue W, and pictured here is what you would most likely see in an opened Word document. Here are a couple of websites so that you can practice doing different things on your first time out with your new computer. You can always try mousing around, which is actually just an exercise to help you with your mouse coordination. You can also take some of our short tutorials and learn with games. Thank you so much for using the Gig for all of your video needs. We hope you'll come back the next time or take Basics 2 online. You can always sign up at the reference desk or online. My name is Jenny Moreno. Thank you so much today. Have a wonderful day.
Welcome to ihnani.com. Computer Fundamentals. Introduction to Computers. Our intention is to make this tutorial useful and easy to understand by everyone, including even those people who have never touched a computer and also those who are computer literates. Agenda. When you complete this course, you should be familiar with: what is a computer? Characteristics of computers. History of the development of computers. Generations of computers. Before starting to know what is a computer, I would like to present you with some of the common types of devices that come to our mind when we say a computer. This is a desktop computer. Should be familiar to you. I know you would have seen these. These are larger machines designed to be used with a desk or a table. These are laptop computers, more of a common sight in any computer store these days. They are small, you can carry them anywhere you want. A calculator. A punching machine. Now you should be wondering whether I am showing something by mistake, isn't it? But I am not. Even a calculator that you have been using since years, a punching machine. All these are different types of computers. You will understand this when you get to know more about computers. So, what is a computer? In simple terms, a computer is anything that transforms process information in a purposeful way. The term computer is derived from Latin word compute, which means to calculate or to manipulate. It is meant to be inclusive of any device that is essentially controlled by a basic computer, CPU, program, etc. While a computer can, in theory, be made out of almost anything, not necessary that it should be a desktop or laptop computers that you saw earlier. Mechanical examples of computers have existed through much of recorded human history. The first electronic computers were developed in the mid-20th century, sometime between 1940 to 1945. Originally, they were the size of a large room, consuming as much power as several hundred modern personal computers. Modern computers based on integrated circuits are billions of times more capable than the early machines, occupying a fraction of the space. Simple computers are small enough to fit into mobile devices, and can be powered by a small battery. In our daily life, we have been using a lot of computers. Calculator, MP3 player, washing machines, cars, planes. They are everywhere. The term computer is derived from Latin word compute, which means to calculate or to manipulate. It is meant to be inclusive of any device that is essentially controlled by a basic computer, CPU, program, etc. This would include, therefore, modern telephones, VCRs, microwave ovens, CAT scanners, supermarket scanners, and the like. By definition, a computer is a programmable machine that receives input, stores and manipulates data, and provides output in a useful format. Characteristics of computer. By looking at the list of characteristics of a computer, we can understand them better. The characteristics I mention are not necessarily unique to computer technology. However, in many instances computers have created situations that were previously impossible to accomplish, such as space flight, were essentially inconceivable until the technology was applied, or at least were very difficult to achieve without the aid of computer technology. Furthermore, even though other technologies may have had impacts similar to computers in many ways, computer technology has greatly amplified their effects to the point of entirely overshadowing any previous technology's impact. Speed. The computer can process huge amount of data at a blink of an eye. Because of its speed, the computer has made many projects successful, which were earlier deemed impossible. Electricity travel at incredible speeds, so is the speed of a computer, which is an electronic device. It processes the data and returns the output instantaneously. We do not talk in terms of seconds or even milliseconds, but in microseconds, millionths, the nanoseconds, 1,000th of a microsecond, and these days even the picosecond, that is 1 trillionth, or 1 millionth of 1 millionth of a second. A picosecond is to 1 second as 1 second is to 31,700 years. Accuracy. As a machine, a computer can do whatever it is programmed to do. Here accuracy means the correctness of the processed data. If the input data or the program is flawed, we get a flawed output. This is to say, that a computer does not do any processing on its own, but it depends on the programs or commands that has to be provided to the computer to get a desired output. This means storage. With the speed and accuracy of computer, we can process any and every data and get results. With this we have a huge amount of processed data. And the computer provides us with huge amount of space to store the same. In these days, we can carry a complete library in a storage device as small as a coin. Versatility. In today's world, computers are used everywhere. As I mentioned earlier, we have come to a stage where in every move we make, computers are doing our work in various forms. They are in use in every industry, be it our home, office, hospital, transportation, education, or you name it, we have computers working for us. Automation. Gone are the days where we had to use some input device and enter the information into the computer. Computers today need very little human interference. They have grown to a level where computers can interact between themselves automatically. We have come to a stage where computers can see us, listen to us, and even react to our gestures. Diligence. Being a machine, a computer does not suffer from the human traits of tiredness and lack of concentration. If a zillion calculations have to be performed, it will perform the last calculation with exactly the same accuracy and speed as the first. It can be used for months without being shut down. In the next video of Computer Fundamentals, Part 1, I will take you through the history of computers. Welcome to ihnani.com. This is the fourth video of Computer Fundamentals, Part 2. Level 1. Computer Internals. In this video, I will continue with the CPU and other hardware components that are housed in a computer case. CPU. The CPU is the brain of the computer. Also referred to as the processor, or central processor, the CPU is where calculations take place. This picture shows the front and back view of a recent and one of the fastest desktop processors, Core i7 from Intel, with a feature size of 45 nanometer and maximum speeds of 3.33 GHz. The CPU executes and interprets programs and processes data. In terms of computing power, the CPU is the most important element of a computer. A CPU is housed in a single chip. A modern CPU is usually small and square with many short, rounded, metallic connectors on its underside. Some older CPUs have pins instead metallic connectors. The CPU is inserted directly into a CPU socket, pin side down, on the motherboard as we saw earlier in the CPU socket section. Several forms of CPUs exist, but only two of them are really used. The Pin Grid Array, PGA, and the Land Grid Array, LGA. With the type PGA, the CPU will have pins to fit in the socket holes, but with LGA, the CPU will not have such pins and will just sit on the socket. A CPU should be compatible with the motherboard manufacturer's specifications. Typically, CPU speed is measured in number of instructions per second, or Hertz. Since the CPU clock speeds have approached theoretical limits of physics, companies are adding multiple cores and fast caching mechanisms to improve CPU speed. While current CPUs use electronics, future CPUs will use light, which will increase the speed exponentially. After running even a short while, modern CPUs can get very hot, because of the number of calculations that go on inside due to the complexity of modern-day softwares. To help dispel this heat, it is necessary to attach a heat sink and a small fan directly on top of the CPU. Typically, the heat sink and the fan come bundled with a CPU purchase. For a detailed coverage on CPU, please check out our tutorial on the same. RAM, or main memory. RAM, acronym for Random Access Memory, is also referred to as the main memory. RAM is a type of computer memory that can be accessed randomly, that is, any byte of memory can be accessed without touching the preceding bytes. RAM is the most common type of memory found in computers and other devices such as printers. In this picture you can see a typical RAM module that is used in a PC. RAM is a fast storage that is directly accessible by the CPU, and is used to store the currently executing program, and immediately needed data. PCs use RAM of various kinds. Two of the commonly used are DRAM, Dynamic Random Access Memory, SRAM, Static Random Access Memory. Some of the common DRAM modules that are being used are SDRAM, Synchronous Dynamic Random Access Memory, DDR-SDRAM, Double Data Rate Synchronous Dynamic Random Access Memory, RDRAM, Rambus Dynamic Random Access Memory, DDR2-SDRAM, Double Data Rate 2 Synchronous Dynamic Random Access Memory, DDR3 SDRAM, Double Data Rate 3 Synchronous Dynamic Random Access Memory. The DDR and DDR2 are largely used now as they are faster and demand less power. The DDR3 is mainly used on graphic cards so far. Main memory is much faster than mass storage devices like hard disks or optical disks, but is usually volatile, meaning that they lose their contents when the power is turned off. It is also quite expensive for a given capacity when compared to most mass storages. Main memory is generally not suitable for long-term or archival data storage. For a detailed tutorial on RAM, please check out our tutorial on the same. ROM. ROM, acronym for Read-Only Memory, is a computer memory on which data has been pre-recorded. In this picture you can see typical ROM chips. Once data has been written onto a ROM chip, it cannot be removed and can only be read. ROM is mainly used to distribute firmware. Firmware is a software program that is specific to the hardware. Unlike RAM, ROM retains its contents even when the computer is turned off. ROM is referred to as being non-volatile, whereas RAM is volatile. Most computers contain a small amount of ROM to store the boot program. Booting is the process of loading the first piece of software for starting a computer. A variation of a ROM is a PROM, programmable read-only memory. PROMs are manufactured as blank chips, on which data can be written. For a detailed tutorial on ROM, please check out our tutorial on the same. BIOS. BIOS is the acronym for Basic Input-Output System. In the picture you can see a typical chip containing BIOS software. BIOS is a small software that is stored in ROM and built into the motherboard. This is the first code that runs when a PC is powered on. On PCs, the BIOS contains all the code that is required to control the keyboard, display screen, disk drives, serial communications, and a number of miscellaneous functions. The primary function of the BIOS is to load and start an operating system. When the PC starts up, it first identifies system devices such as the display, keyboard and mouse, hard disk, CD and/or DVD drive and other hardware. The BIOS then loads the OS and gives the control of the PC. This process is known as booting, or booting up. For a detailed tutorial on BIOS, please check out our tutorial on the same. Hard disk. Hard disk is a type of mass storage device used in computers. In this picture you can see a typical hard disk used in today's computers. Unlike the RAM, they do not lose the data when the power is off, and unlike ROM it is not read-only, we can also write into it. However, mass storage devices are not as fast as a RAM or ROM. The most common form of mass storage in personal computers is the hard disk. Hard disk is a magnetic disk, on which data can be stored. The term hard is used to distinguish it from other disk types, such as floppy disk, etc. Hard disks can store enormous amounts of data, and are cheaper when compared to other forms of storage. However, hard disks are less portable than other mass storage devices. Although it is possible to buy removable hard disks, they are still bigger in sizes and weight. For a detailed tutorial on hard disks, please check out our tutorial on the same. Optical disk drives. Optical disk is a type of storage medium, which uses lasers to read and write data. The optical disc was invented in 1958. From the early analog optical disc for video recording, to currently used Blu-ray discs, they have gone through a lot of changes in its technology since then. Initially, optical discs were used to store music and computer software. Compact discs, also known as CDs, were the most commonly used optical discs. It could store up to a maximum of 700 megabytes of data. CDs were replaced by DVDs, which could store much more than the CDs. A common type of DVD can store up to 4.7 gigabytes of data, on a standard 12 cm, single-sided, single-layer disc. Next in the list are the Blu-ray disc, which uses blue-violet lasers, and can store up to 50 gigabytes of data. There are new types of discs that are in development to store more than 1 terabyte of data, such as holographic versatile disk, LSR, and protein-coated disk. For a detailed tutorial on optical disk drives, please check out our tutorial on the same. SMPS, or Power Supply Unit. SMPS is the power supplier to the computer. In this picture, you can see a typical SMPS used in today's PCs. SMPS stands for Switched Mode Power Supply, also called as Switching Mode Power Supply, or simply Switcher. The SMPS provides regulated direct current power at the several voltages as required by the motherboard and accessories such as disk drives and cooling fans. When a PC is plugged into standard electrical outlet, the SMPS in the computer converts AC electric power to low voltage DC power for the internal components of the computer. It also regulates the voltage to eliminate spikes and surges common in most electrical systems. Power supplies are rated in terms of the number of watts they generate. The more powerful the SMPS, the more watts it can provide to components. For a detailed tutorial on different power supply units, please check out our tutorial on the same. In the next video of Computer Fundamentals, Part 2, Level 1, I will continue with the input devices. You can find a lot of free video tutorials, training materials, how-to videos and much more at our site www.inani.com. Check out the forum topic related to this tutorial on the site for all your questions.
Now your CPU is ready.